I didn't want to continue talking about NCAA stuff, but unfortunately, actually, maybe fortunately, we're going to, because Josh Henschke over at Maize and Blue Review over at Rivals posted a report of what he's hearing, and it's significantly more consistent with what I told you a month plus ago compared to the things we've heard. Also, the Yahoo guys talked about it on their podcast, not necessarily Henschke's report, just kind of reacting to all of the other stuff that's out there in the ether now. So let's get into that before we discuss Michigan at Big Ten Media Days. We're just pushing it back and back and back. Let's talk about all of that on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. So interesting stuff that I feel like there's a lot that we can take away from Josh Henschke's report, as well as some of the things that they said on Yahoo. A little bit of clarification, even to me, with some things about how they work. So let's go ahead and actually read what Henschke wrote, because that's the best way for us to get this correct. But and then we'll compare that to what I said back in, I don't know what month it would have been, May, maybe early June, whenever that was. And I'll clear up some misconceptions that I even had, clarifying some things. So we will do that at the end of segment one. So first, Henschke. The NCAA investigation continues into Michigan's in-person scouting violations, with word that a notice of allegations could be coming soon. There is plenty of conflicting information out there regarding the semantics of the investigation. What's going on exactly? Is Michigan preparing for a bowl ban? Here's what we're hearing after speaking to multiple sources through Michigan and NIL circles. First and foremost, there is zero concern in the athletic department currently about any potential bowl bans. In fact, there was some surprise that was even mentioned at all. Michigan has felt comfortable and confident throughout the entire investigation, as the NCAA is yet to link the football program with Connor Stalions' operation. To add, Michigan has felt that the investigation has been functionally closed for months. According to multiple sources, there has been 0 level 1 charges found regarding Michigan as far as punishments go. For Connor Stalions, there is confusion as to whether his actions are level 1 or level 3 violations. His failure to cooperate with the NCAA and Michigan seem to be the most egregious. According to one source, 1161 is a level 3. The NCAA has been unable to prove he actually violated it. However, the NCAA Constitution is distinct from the NCAA bylaws because of the 1161 dead ends. The NCAA plans to charge Stalions with conspiracy to violate 1161. You might remember hearing me say a little something about that the other day. They are addressing the spirit, not the letter of the law. They may package together several spiritual violations to create a level 1 show cause worthy charge. There was a time when Michigan felt it wouldn't receive an NOA at all, considering the findings, though that still remains unclear. There has been talk that an NOA is coming, but we've yet to confirm a timeline. I'm going to skip the next one about CMU. Let's just read it. News has come out that CMU has let go of its quarterbacks coach, Jay Costner, who did not cooperate with the NCAA regarding the investigation of Connor Stalions on the sidelines against Michigan State. While Costner and Stalions' relationship stems from their time at Michigan together, this investigation is into CMU's actions and does not involve Michigan. That is consistent with what I've been told. I've not said that on the podcast as far as the NCAA and its actions there. The expectation right now is that Stalions could receive some level of show cause and the Wolverines could face potential of fines. Is Michigan preparing for a fight? There's no fight to be had, according to multiple sources. A bowl ban has never come up once. All right, so there's a lot to parse through there. Number one, the conspiracy to violate, that was something I alluded to, and that's something I flat out told you on Monday. That's the laughable part. So, I mean, all of this is very consistent with what I shared a month ago. The only thing being inconsistent was the date of the NOA coming. Here's where I'm going to clear one thing up, and this was something that's clarified to me. I did say something to the effect a month plus ago, early June-ish, that it was going to be a draft, and then at that point, the NCAA would go to committee and then issue a formal NOA. And I I wasn't exactly clear on that because I wasn't exactly clear on that, right? I wasn't, so therefore I didn't present it clearly. And I understand that that's where a lot of people got very upset with me. But the conspiracy to violate is the one that I had told you a month ago. Once you hear the charge that's being leveled on Stallions, you're going to laugh at. I clarified that on Monday. I went onto the fort. I haven't even looked to see my responses, but I went ahead and went even further in clarifying something else that I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now because I said it there. When I said that the NCAA does not have United States Congress congressional subpoena power, but they are asking for things that not you or I would give to them, to Michigan, to anyone. You might, and that if you don't hand that over, then they look at you as being non-compliant. You're impeding an investigation, all of this stuff. So what kind of stuff is that? And that's not what's in this report. So I'm giving this to you. We're not only talking about business phones, emails, that type of stuff. We're also talking personal phones. We're talking personal email accounts, even ones that far precede anything that has anything to do with this. We're talking bank accounts. Yes, the NCAA has requested from some people in this investigation that they give them unfettered access to personal email accounts, personal phones, as well as bank accounts, from what I was told, okay? No, I don't think any of us would be like, by all means, log into my bank. Go ahead and just scour through everything. You know what? My email account from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, my email account from high school, which my email account from high school doesn't exist anymore. Mustaine at TIR.com, as in Dave Mustaine, because I was a big Megadeth guy. Doesn't exist anymore. But, no, I'm not going to let the NCAA just start, rifling through literally everything to try to figure out what it wants to get, right? This is where things get really absurd, right? So that is your failure to cooperate from what I have been told, what I believe out of all of this, okay? So the 1161, I always erroneously call it 1163, but that is, again, what is consistent with what I've been told. Now, that's also consistent with what many of my colleagues had heard up until this point as well. So also, we have some Yahoo stuff to get through because they had Dan Wetzel, Pat Forty, Ross Dellinger, they had their podcast. And as far as they addressed some of the stuff from the earlier report on Monday, and when it comes to the bowl ban and everything, Wetzel says that's not how the notice of allegation works. It's more like you're charged with murder. They don't just say that you're here's what the punishment, the death chair is, You're charged, you're not penalized at this stage. Now, again, to clarify, that's the Wolverine report doesn't necessarily correlate the NOA and the punishment, but my point is there's no way of knowing what the punishment is at this stage. I think it's speculative, personally. Sounds like we have a classic, he was operating alone. This is Pat Forty, he says, and except for maybe the coach that was deleting text messages. I hadn't heard anything about that. I do, again, stand by that the NOA, should it come out beyond the draft, would be something kind of more in line with some recruiting violations there. But I don't know. That was kind of new information for me, so I'm not really sure. The continuation, I think this was Dellinger, says that there was just an assumption what the penalties could be. Things in the NOA could change. Hence, this is the kind of clarification, right? That I think I did say this a month ago. If I didn't, that's on me, and I'm sorry, but that they would go through a draft process, right? Like Michigan would get some kind of draft, then they would go to committee, and then that they could sit there and say, we have 8 things. Remember, I gave you the number 8. We have 8 things, and now we're just going to go ahead and whittle that down to this, and then here's the NOA. Now then you respond. Or in the case of last year, a colleague pointed out to me, like, keep in mind how this worked last year, is that Michigan hadn't received a notice of allegations. And yes, it had kind of gotten a little bit of they could suspend Jim Harbaugh for 4 games. That is what they're seeking. So that is possible that it could be known what the NCAA is seeking. So I'm not saying that it isn't possible. I just don't think it's plausible. But there was all this talk of Jim Harbaugh being potentially suspended for 4 games. Michigan thus self-imposed 3 in hopes to get the monkey off the back. But again, speculation mixed with allegations. We didn't see that notice. I mean, the earlier notice of allegations, we're only finding out details about it like this week. So there's a lot of conflation when it comes to some of these things. So that is where it stands. I think I want to do another segment on this, and then we'll talk about some of the things that we learned from the players at Big Ten Media Days. So we'll do that here in just a moment. But before we do, listen, there's no better time to get outside, get downtown. Best way you can do that is to go to a concert or go to a baseball game. I'm going to downtown Detroit tomorrow to see Brandon Lake and Phil Wickham, the Worship Nights tour. But if you want to go to a baseball game or you want to go to the concert, the best way you can do that is through Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets easier, faster. Prices on Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. I think the best part of the app, and I've said this time and time again, is the views from your seat, but they also have zone deals and flash deals. The zone deals save you even more when you choose a section like Gametime, choose the seats. The flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of a game or an event. So take the guesswork out of buying your tickets from Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we're going to continue on in a moment, but first I want to tell you, warmer, sunnier days, they are calling, and it is warm and it is sunny today. Zuri only wanted to do a 3-mile walk instead of our 6-mile walk today. That's where we're at. Fuel up for those walks, that time outside, all of that stuff with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer. It is summer, but in time for maybe football season. Thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. No matter how busy you are, you always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. So make today the day you kickstart a healthy new routine. What are you waiting for? There's over 35 different meals with over 60 add-ons to choose from every single week. You can crush your wellness goals this summer with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Plenty of different things. You can manage calories, maximize protein, all of that stuff. Eat a well-balanced meal. Head over to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use the code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off of your first box, plus 20% off of your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. Get 50%. Excuse me, I knew that was coming. Off 50% off of your first box, plus 20% off of your next month while your subscription is active. Talking makes me cough, and yet I have a job here where I have to talk, thus I cough. It's fun. All right, so I wanted to continue on with some of this NCAA stuff. We haven't plowed that road as much as I really wanted to, unfortunately. So we've got the Henschke report. We've got the Yahoo guys' perspective. I've been a little bit more clear, I hope. You know, if I was wrong, if I said things differently, which I don't believe I did, I just think I kind of didn't explain what I was saying or understand fully what I was saying in part. Because, again, I'm not speaking to an NCAA source. We're a couple paths removed here, right, from the NCAA, from the information that I've gathered and shared with you. Again, some of those things will come to light eventually. You'll understand a little bit more. But for today, that's the best I can say. So, Henschke's report is significantly more consistent with everything that I had heard compared to what was over there on On3. I understand that there's like, hey, this could, the NCAA could seek a bowl ban. And in Michigan would fight that. Okay, sure. To me, that's speculation at this stage, right? And I think that was hit pretty hard there by the Yahoo guys and what they had to say. But in terms of the actual content that Henschke gave you, that's almost identical to what I told you a month-ish ago, back when what I said was apparently so controversial that Zach Smith felt like he had a need to chime in. Here's the problem as it stands right now. The well has been poisoned enough, and it's just going to continue to be poisoned until this comes out. So there is still even, this kind of thought of maybe Michigan doesn't even receive an NCAA, like Henschke alludes to, and I believe the Yahoo guys even kind of alluded to it as well. At this point, I feel like because of the pressure they're under, they have to release something, and that's kind of where some of the stuff comes in that I shared before about there is an assistant coach recruiting level 2 violation type stuff in there, okay? And because it to me felt like the NCAA was in search of a problem at that point, because they had already kind of said, here's what we want, here's what we think we know, and here's what we want to find. And then they were never really able to prove anything beyond what we think we know. What the Yahoo guys say, flat out, Pat Forty says, this reeks of a guy that was working all alone without any knowledge of anyone on the coaching staff above him and all of that kind of stuff. And that is, again, consistent with what I've been telling you since October. I'm consistently been telling you the buck stopped with Connor Stallions. Okay. And that's the thing that I think that a lot of people in the ethos out there do not understand. Because that's why you're hearing, aside from just coping, a lot of the cheating on every post that has anything to do with Michigan on anything. Heck, you could probably go and find an old AAA map of the state of Michigan, and somewhere around Ann Arbor, some Ohio State or Michigan State fan has probably wrote cheating on it, right? Because the fan bases are going to react that way. And if you're a Michigan fan, don't act like you wouldn't do the same if Ohio State was in the same exact boat. And you would believe that it went down to even the secretaries, were complicit in all of this, right? Because that's what fandom does. You're a fanatic. So your enemy is the worst. They're doing the worst. There is no absolution for them. Whereas you are squeaky clean, and you are beautiful and bound only by sun and light, and you're just doing everything by the letter of the law. Meanwhile, your enemies are dastardly, villainous. That's how fandom works, right? But so I understand why you see a lot of this pushback, because people in around Columbus, I'm talking about a 200-mile radius around Columbus, and people in East Lansing, pretty much located only solely within the vicinity of East Lansing, they all believe that the complicity goes far beyond Connor Stallions. Whereas I've been telling you since 2 days after this broke, essentially 3 days after this broke, the buck stopped with Connor Stallions. And they have not found anything contrary to that. And as much as a lot of people want to wish cast for something to be different, it's just not the case. So with that said, what Henschke posted about the notice of allegations, what's supposedly held within a draft, because what this leads me to believe is that my timeline originally, it was in fact correct. The difference is Michigan saw a draft. And thus, things have kind of emanated from that, okay? And as far as what the actual punishments, the level of the charges, all of that stuff would be refined by the NCAA committee once they actually sit down and say, here's what we're going to stay with, right? It's like a lawyer going through, prosecutor going through all of the charges and saying, like, here's what we're charging. And you might sit there and say, we don't have enough for this one, so we're not going to do this. We don't have enough for this one, so we're not going to do this. We can get you on jaywalking, though, so watch out for that. So that is my understanding of where things stand. It's been my understanding where things stand. We'll see as this continues to go forth. I will say it felt a little more vindicating for me to see someone else going through a completely different source, and I do know that it was a completely different source, coming away with the same intel that I gave you back in June. So that's that. All right, so we are running out of time, but I do want to discuss one really very cool thing I thought came out of Big Ten Media Days with one of the players. So let's talk about Donovan Edwards and his changed mindset. Let's do that here in just a moment. But before we do, passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I hate to say this, but we're at a race against time because I'm using the better of my two cameras since we got back from Big Ten Media Days, and the camera battery indicator is not accurate compared to the other one. I can do like 8 shows with a full battery. This is like show number 3, and it's like I'm dying. It said it had like a full battery when I started, so fun times. Donovan Edwards. So before I get to actually what he said at Big Ten Media Days that I was particularly impressed with, or the 2 things that he said that I thought was that really impressed me. I want to take you back to the Wolverine football camp last year. Now, truth be told, Donovan off the field is a friend of mine. So I almost feel bad sharing this, but I think it has to, because it has to do with his maturation. So we're at the Wolverine Boot Company photo shoot, Sarah and I, and we're shooting all the guys. Afterwards, I was like, Sarah, what did you think? You finally got to meet a lot of these people that these players and people that I interface with all the time and all that. And she was like, oh, almost all of them were really, really cool. She's like, I liked all of them. She's like, Donovan Edwards could stand to be a lot more humble. Because like, he just, when it's just the 3 of us, he's sitting there, talking about how good of a running back he is and how he's just, he can do anything in the world. And I admired his confidence, admired his zeal, but it bordered on cocky and arrogant. And then not so long after, he appears on the PFF podcast and he says that he's basically Walter Payton. I think Barry Sanders was in there somewhere. And I understand coming out of his second year and the way he performed when he was finally called upon to be like the starting running back, essentially from the Ohio State game forward. His final 3 games, he looked absolutely incredible. But last year didn't go the way he wanted it to go. He was humbled very early, and I know that his attitude changed very early, and he continued to be humble even as he was going through a lot of these struggles. And I think the thing that made it really interesting to me, though, at Big Ten Media Days, he's asked like about his demeanor, and he says, you know what? Last year I was a bit arrogant. Now I am more humble. And you could see that throughout his 30 minutes because, like, he wasn't just up there saying, like, I'm the best running back. He wasn't Muhammad Aliing out there. He was exuding humility. And still confident and aware, right? Like Kirk Campbell said at press... losing my voice. Kirk Campbell says at the press conference yesterday. He's got the confidence he had when he was here as a freshman, 2021. Still confident, but aware, like, I can do all things through Christ, not I can just do things and I'm just that amazing. So it's wonderful to see his maturation. But on top of that, one of the things that was really mature that he was asked about was, can you be that guy that carries the ball 25 times if called upon, right? We've seen that. Like Michigan will always tell you, we want like 15, 10, 7 for like the 3 backs or whatever before they end up giving Blake Corum the ball 25, 30 times. So Donovan's asked, like, can you do that? He's like, well, I bulked up. I'm bigger. I'm more durable. Durability is important. I can do it, but I don't want to. He said, if they want me to, I'll do it. But what I want is I want Kalel Mullings to get some of those carries. I want Ben Hall to get some of those carries. I want Tavi Dunlap. I want all these guys to get these carries. I'm losing my voice even more here. I want all of these guys to be able to show what they can do, to be a bigger part of the team, to be productive as a part of the team, because I know what they're capable of. So yeah, if you want me to carry the ball 25 times, I'll do it, and I can do it well because I've trained for this. I'm confident in my abilities at this point. But I want everyone else to shine. That is maturation. That is unbelievable to see the difference between Donovan Edwards this time last year and now. So kudos to you, Donovan. Proud of who you are becoming. Proud of the man that you are. And I think that every Michigan fan's got to feel the same way. Don't stop being outspoken, though, Donovan, because that's part of the fun stuff. But he's doing it in the right way. And he's doing it with humility, but a confidence in his abilities. So very cool. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be a little bit slightly earlier than we normally release evenings. This one's going to be kind of early evening tomorrow. Going to like I said, Brandon Lake and Phil Wickham. So that means we got to get this done a little bit earlier. So anyway, we'll talk to you then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Peace.